Sit rep. I am doing one of my least favourite things, which is driving a car transporter, low loader van. Because yesterday, Jim messaged me saying, "Oh, shall I put a cheeky bid on this?" And I said internally, no, that would be bad, we don't need another car, and it does not run, so I'm going to have to fix it. But I replied with a nice reply that friends do, which is absolutely, if it's what you want and you would regret not putting a bid on it, and it went for less than you would have been prepared to pay, then go for it. You should put a bid on and we'll deal with the consequences later. And I think you can probably guess what happened. So next morning I am tasked, because he is not here, to go and collect it in the car. So I have hired this flatbed truck. I know it's not, and people drive them normally every day, but I think it's enormous. And I am driving this Guildford, and I'm picking up the car.
And that was Siôn on the M25, or some such place. I'm in Wales, I'm on my way to work, and you're probably wondering, why a Fiat Tipo? I know I do have a reputation of being a bit of a Fiat fan, but a Tipo's not exactly the most interesting car in the world, even though it did win Car of the Year 1988, 89, end of the 80s, won Car of the Year. The reason why is that I am slightly obsessed with Montalbano, and don't have a go at me about the pronunciation because that's the Ulster Scotch version, okay? So, Italian detective, based on a series of books, and the car is not in the book. It's a complete creation of the TV company, and no one can tell, as ever said, why they picked a Fiat Tipo and why the commissioner has driven it for the last 30 years of television. And I've just always been slightly obsessed by it. I love it. I think it's a brilliant sort of like, you know, sidekick to the commissioner. And our plan is, and this is a very long-term plan, because I don't know if Siôn has actually pointed this out to you, but the Tipo doesn't actually work. Not Montalbano's, the one we bought. And we're going to have to fix it and get it running and find out why, you know, it's not working. But long-term plan is that I want to drive it to Sicily and run around sort of like, you know, southern Sicily, and basically pretend that I am a middle-aged, balding, slightly tubby Italian detective driving my Fiat Tipo between impossibly tiny coffees. Anyway, back to Siôn, who is now probably a little bit closer to Guildford, where he's picking the car up.
Well, made it to Farnham near Guildford, loaded up the Tipo, and there it is on the back. Hopefully you can just about see it behind my head. I'm now on the M25 heading back up towards Cambridge, and actually kind of relaxed into driving the van a little bit more than I was. So yeah, feeling a touch more confident, especially after the hard bit of loading the car once the back has been done. I've done it before, but yeah, it always makes me a little bit nervous. And the guy who was selling it was a really nice guy, so he helped me put it on, so that was really good, kind of saved a little time. So there we go, deal is done, money has been transferred, and I will report back when I am letting the Tipo off the truck in my driveway. And home. I just need to get it unloaded off the truck now and then go and dump the van back at the rental company. Right, it is the next morning, and as I think you probably would have gathered, the reason we got this car so cheap, £731, was that it is listed on eBay as spares and repairs because it is a non-runner. So It's my job today to have a look and see if we can actually get it to run, or have we bought a lemon? Wish me luck. We know it doesn't run because when you try and start it, it turns and turns and turns, but never fires. So it has run not that long ago because it had an MOT in 2023, and obviously it's driven a few hundred miles since that MOT. So it has been driving until very recently. So the seller thought that it was something to do with the Gemini alarm system that is preventing the car from starting, probably an immobiliser. And he seems to think that it's kind of malfunctioning, unable to come off, and so it's just permanently immobilised. That would make a lot of sense. I am going to have a look and see if I can disconnect the immobiliser and see what's going on. The other point is that when you turn the key, you should be able to hear the fuel pump prime, which is, I think, under the rear seats. And there is absolutely nothing. So I think the fuel pump is not getting any power. So I think what I need to do is look at this fine collection of wires here, fish underneath the carpet and behind the dash, and see if I can find the alarm, and then see how it is spliced into the fuel pump, and see if I can then put the fuel pump back together again, bypassing the alarm immobiliser, and see if that will make it work. Let's get to it. I had a poke in the engine bay and I found the alarm, or at least the siren for it, Gemini alarm. And it does have an override key, which we thought was the case, which is that little key that's on the key ring, but it looks like it's already on off. So the fact that it's on off means that it should be allowing the car to function as normal, but obviously therefore means that something's wrong if when it's off it's still immobilised. Okay, I've had a look at the manual and it's telling me that these two things here that was underneath a plastic shroud are to do with the fuel pump fuse and relay. So I can't see there's anything spliced into theirs, but let's have a look at the two fuses to start with. Oh, that's helpful. That fell on the floor. That fuse looks intact, so I'll put that back. This fuse annoyingly also looks intact. That's a shame. I was kind of hoping it'd be a really easy fix, that it'd be a nice fuse that's broken. And these two are fuel pump relays. Looks like someone's taken it out and cleaned it already at some stage, so suggests they might be slightly problematic at some point in the past. And same with this one, someone's taken it out and cleaned it. Okay, well, you know what I might do is just turn the engine and see, having just jiggled those around, and see if that's made any difference whatsoever, improved the connection or something. I have a feeling it will do nothing, but I don't hear a fuel pump. Okay, can't find evidence of an immobiliser at the moment, so I'm going to have a look at the fuel pump itself, which is underneath this panel here under the boot carpet. So I'm going to unscrew that and see if it is alive or dead. The ignition is on, and this is the feed to the fuel pump. I've put these two probes into the feed from to the fuel pump, and this comes up as 0. I can't do it with one hand and hold the camera, but essentially there is nothing coming to the fuel pump when I put these two probes into this feed. Okay, next step is to test whether the fuel pump itself actually works. So I've got a 12 volt battery here, which I'll directly wire into the fuel pump. Oh yeah, I can hear it. So that is pumping fuel, or at least it's got power and is doing something. It's quite quiet actually, no wonder. I might not be able to hear it from inside the car, so see if I can get these two spades to stick onto it properly, and then that gives it a permanent feed, and see if it'll start. Well, that didn't work. That's annoying. there's something preventing it from firing. So is it something to do with the coil? Does it not have any spark? Okay, so the fact that the fuel pump is not getting 12 volts from the car, and the fact that when it does get 12 volts from the car, it still doesn't start, suggests to me that there is an immobiliser system, and that it might be connected to both the ignition side of the world and the fuel pump side of the world. Maybe. I just need to figure out where they are and how to bypass them, and I don't know the answer to that because the wiring looks very complicated. Okay, having had a look at the internet and Twitter in particular, someone's found a wiring diagram and found that the white and the grey wires are the ones that bridge the fuel pump relay, and this is where they come out to. This is the white one, that's the grey one in the back. So it looks like there's the red is the factory, and it's basically crossing with the grey and white. So if I undo those and put the grey red to red, we should be good. So I wired the red wire directly to the red wire. So let's see now if it will work. Okay, I've taken a spark plug out and see if there's a spark, at least when I turn the key. So you can keep watch on the spark plug whilst I go and turn the engine. Okay, so let's take stock of what we've got. Basically, I don't think the immobiliser is at fault. We have a fuel pump that is not getting any power, but otherwise it works. And we have a ignition system that is not getting any power because there's no spark. So there is something between these ignition key and the functionality of those two devices that is preventing the car from starting, that is cutting the power to both of those things. I think it might be the ECU. That would be my logical conclusion, which is this little box of tricks here. It's a Bosch ignition system. Okay, it is now Monday and there has been a little bit of progress over the weekend. I have been on the Tipo forum and had a look on there to try and see if I can find some guidance. Now, the first thing that told me was that the fuel pump should only, when you put the ignition onto position 2, only prime for about 1 second. And so what I've been doing is turning the ignition on, going around the back, checking it, and obviously it has no power. I have done it with a friend over the weekend. He's turned the key to position 2 and I've been there with the multimeter on the back on the fuel pump, and it definitely engages. So hooray, fuel pump is definitely fine. So that means that the issue is probably more with the spark system and not with the fuel pump system. Now, Fiats are renowned generally for having poor crank sensors. So I have tested the crank sensor in this car. This is the crank sensor. This is the feed to the crank sensor, positive and negative. And it's getting about 5 volts, which I gather from the internet is possibly normal. But when I plug this socket onto the actual crank sensor and keep my probes in, we're getting nothing at all. And as far as I can see, it is dead. It is not doing what it is supposed to do. I put the multimeter in it and it's not sort of matching up to what crank sensors should do to a multimeter. So I've ordered a new one and it has just arrived this morning. So let's whip the old one off the car, which is sort of mainly off anyway, get the new one on and see if it starts. Wish me luck. New crank sensor is in place. I haven't quite fixed it perfectly yet, but it's there. It's not fouling on any of the belts, so let's go for a start, shall we? Right, here goes. We're in neutral. Please start. Oh yes, Tipo, you're alive! Oh, I'm a happy boy. Well then, I think that is it for this video. That's where we're going to leave it. I've got quite a lot of tidying up to do inside the car. There's quite a lot of wiring and panels that need to go back into position. I am going to properly disconnect the alarm as well, because having chatted to Jim, essentially a 90s aftermarket alarm is just going to cause problems, and if someone wants to steal a 30-year-old Tipo, they're just going to steal it regardless of whether it has an alarm system on it. So I will, since everything's apart, I will remove it all out of the way, and then it's never going to cause problems for anyone again. Join us in the next video where I will reveal the car to Jim so he can actually see his Tipo for the first time, because it's his Tipo, not mine. He's always wanted one, and he can explain to you in that video why he's always wanted one, and we'll give you a good look around the car properly as well, because it's actually a really nice car now that it runs anyway. See you in the next one. Bye.